Okay, everybody, back today to do another mandala design on stone. Since so many people are using the nail dotting tools, that's what I have for today that we're going to use. See all the different sized ends. And I have my stone here all set with the background already painted on. I usually just kind of eyeball to center it and paint a background because it helps to do the symmetry of your design, but also it really helps the colors pop, especially after you varnish your stone. So I have also already measured for my center dot here. I just use a tape measure on stones because a flat ruler is difficult. Obviously to get it flat if the stone's not flat, which this one is not, it's pretty thick. Okay, so I just used a tape measure, found my center, and that's where we're gonna start. So I'm just gonna pick out my colors here, which I am using mostly deco art paints. I find the water-based acrylics to be the easiest to use to make dots just because they spread pretty well, they dry nicely, and they're great colors. A lot of the deco arts now too, the Americana line makes metallics and a lot of other great products. So I've been going through and trying these all out. Alright, let's get started. Alright, for my center dot I'm going to use this really nice coastal blue, and I'm going to do a fairly large center dot just for this stone to try something different. There are people that have dotting tools larger than the nail dotting tools allow, but this is all I have for right now, so I'm going to use the largest dotting end that I have and put a ton of paint on it. And just because I want the center to be a bit larger, I'm just going to roll the paint around to spread it out a bit. I think for this one too, we're just going to do the traditional start of the mandala sign. So you just kind of make a cross, where you start at the top, make one below, and then my other two will go across, like a plus sign. And then we'll fill in between those dots that we just created. And I'm just using a smaller size dotting tool so that I can fit 6 around the center here. There. Okay, and now I can't find my darker turquoise, so I'm going to just mix one by using the tropical blue deco art and the ocean green. Mix those two together to hopefully give me a nice aquamarine type color. That came out pretty nice. A little more blue than the green. Excuse me. And if you just keep your dots centered and about the same size each time, it will keep this symmetry for your design as you work from the center out. Getting the ocean vibe here. Alright, so ordinarily I use this brush which is, this one's from Princeton. It's called an angled spot detailer. I like to use this to do the small detail work around the dots. It's really great. It has a great point, and it holds enough paint that I don't have to keep reloading it, and I can go around the dots. But because I'm using the dotting tools today, I actually have one of the nail dotting tools where I bent the ball off the end. So you can see this one has a ball. All I did was just bend it and break the ball off the end. I don't know if you can see that. So now this point here will be what I'm using to make the really tiny dots around these circles. I think some people use toothpicks or push pins. I'm not sure how those work. I have not done them myself. Oops, I forgot to tell you which paint I'm using now, the Island Blue from Deco Art. And that's for the small dots around our aqua that we made. I don't know about some of you, but I tend to hold my breath when I'm doing the small dots too. So I apologize for the silence, but it's merely just a concentration thing. Especially if I've had too much coffee, and I have to hold it here like this with two hands. Okay, and one more here. There. Okay, for the next color, I'm just going to actually add a little bit of the white to the aqua that we made earlier on, just to get a little bit lighter as we go out. So I started with a dark and working the way out with the lighter colors. I'm going to tuck the next round probably right in here, so I'm going to use a little bit larger tool. Pardon me. And we'll just work our way around, tucking the lighter right in there. It kind of made like a light, I don't know, island turquoise blue. Alright, next I'm going to use a little bit of the ocean green. Alright, so just to kind of continue on with our oceany theme, I have this great metallic. It's called Peacock Pearl. It's kind of like the shimmery water in the ocean. And I'm going to do a larger dot in between these other ones here. That's nice. The thing I like about these metallics too is they're nice and thick, so they tend to not run, especially when you have a stone that is more rounded and you don't want it running down the sides. The metallics work really well. They're a bit thicker. And again, like I did with the center, I'm just kind of rolling the color around to make a bigger dot than what this tool actually allows for. So maybe we just keep some greens in there because we have seagrass or palm trees or something like that around our ocean. And this one is a crystal green metallic from Deco Art that I'm using. And it's a smaller tool that I'm going to use to just tuck some in here to make sort of like a base for some maybe sand color we'll do next. And I know a lot of times if you're like me and you're up close and personal with your stone, I've said this before in other videos, then you tend to see all the imperfections, perceived imperfections, which ultimately, once you are done and the stone is finished, you probably won't even notice them, and other people are not going to notice them. You're just up close and personal, and as you might be able to tell that some of my dots aren't exactly rounded. So sometimes too, I have to walk away from the stone for a little bit and then come back to it, and then I don't notice them either. Or just accepted that that's the way the stone is gonna go. Sometimes they have a mind of their own. But this crystal green is really pretty. I don't know if you can see the shine in the video. But after we varnish it at the end, you'll be able to see it. Alright. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I've been pausing this to kind of give each round of dots a little bit of time to dry, and that allows for them to not run into one another when you do your next ones near them. You can get them as close as possible, and that way they don't bleed into one another. So now I have this great chocolate multi-surface Americana metallic from Deco Art again. Really shiny. Reminds me of dark sand on a beach with mica in it or something like that. Really pretty. And actually the sun is starting to shine too here in my studio. But that's the next round. I'm going to use a larger dot, and we're going to go here at the end of our greens that we just did. There we go. Nice shiny sandy look. I really must be sick of winter, I've been saying, because all my stones have been spring colors. This one is beachy. I did a flower yesterday. We only started getting snow, but we've been hit hard with about 3 storms in a row. And I'm starting to feel the want for warmer weather. Alright, a couple more and we'll be done with our sandy look for this round. Sometimes I get a little off kilter and I need to rework the dot a little bit with this. I'm still learning to use these tools as well. Take a smaller one and just kind of reshape the dot, because even sometimes I have a little bit of OCD and want them perfect. But on the other hand too, the imperfections really, I think, show that it's an actual handmade item and that you're not using a stencil or any kind of tool, drawing tool, something like that. I think it makes it an original handmade from you. Labor of love. Okay, so our sunshiny sand is now set there, and I'm gonna let that dry for a second. Alright, now that our sand is dried a little bit, pardon me, I think on this one we're going to do a spiral pattern towards the outside. I think that would be pretty, kind of like waves. We'll start it with the sand color. Let's see. Okay, next I have some copper, just to kind of make the sand idea a little more diverse with more sparkles in it. So I'll go around here with the copper color. You having your lunch? Alright, so just so you know, in the rest of this video, my little guy's going to be hanging out here with me. So if you hear any noises, it's probably him hanging out having lunch. Huh. Is that good, Giuseppe? Alright, so we were working on the copper around the outside. This gives it some more shine. And you can see, even because my stone is not perfectly circular or round, that even my spacing is a little bit off. But once we work our paint to the edges, you won't be able to tell. Or you probably can, but it won't matter as much. The stone will still come out looking lovely. Here we go. Alright, I think the next row around, I'm gonna do this smoke color, kind of to add in for those nice white sandy beaches. And this time I think I am actually going to do a drag of the dot instead of a line of dots. So we will show you how to do the drag of the dot here with the dotting tools. Yeah. And it's a fairly long distance from here down, so I'm going to use one of the larger ends so that it holds more paint. Are you backing me up on this, Giuseppe? And even that one didn't have enough paint on it to drag down and around, so I'm just going to take a little bit and help it down. Yeah, does that look okay? Okay, just at the top here and drag our paint. I might have to move up a size. There we go. I just added a little more paint. A little more paint on it to help it out. You okay there, bud? Are you making a mess? You got your bib off and everything, huh? Okay, so apparently I was not recording, and I'm not sure how far back that went. Probably since you saw my son eating. So we did the drag marks here in the smoke color from Deco Art. And all I did was get a good amount on the end, the large end, because it's a longer distance. I need a pretty decent amount on the end. And then I just started at the top and dragged it till it ran out of paint. And we'll do a couple more drags here so you'll get to see. Part of the problem sometimes is that the paint runs out too high up. So I will use the smaller end like this and grab some of the paint and help drag it. Giuseppe's getting excited about this. So one of the things I've noticed is being able to fix your mistakes or things that don't go exactly perfect is really helpful so that you don't have to redo the whole stone or scrap your project. So that's what I was saying, just start with the smaller end, add it to the top here, and drag your paint out. Can you say hi? Hello! This is my lovely daughter Aria, who likes to paint with me sometimes as well. Huh? Is painting your favorite? Yeah. It is? Do you like to paint rocks too? Yeah. Alright, I love you. Go play.
I also like to make the tie-dye things.
The tie-dye things on coffee filters. You're a crafty girl, huh? Alright, say goodbye.
Bye!
Alright, so I'm going to use a little bit of white here for a little bit of white sand in our beach. I think I'll just for this one switch back to the dots, just for a little diversity in our design. I'm using a medium-sized end so that there's enough paint on it that I can go down and the dots aren't too small. And you can just kind of work it out so as you work down the paint comes off and you have smaller dots as you go. So they progressively get smaller. I really like the variation as you go from smooth to dots. There we go. My goodness. Are you all done? Alright, and I think just to tie in our blues and greens, we'll do a couple drags of the blue and green next to our whites. I think I'll use one of the deep aquas that we made, and I'm going to use the largest one that I have because this distance again is pretty far, so I need quite a bit of paint on there to drag it that far. That worked out a bit better than with the smoke, so maybe you could use the larger dotting tool if you want to do the smoke one too. Oops, I didn't get enough paint on there. And like I said before, although it might have been the part where it cut out, is if you need to, you can always use a smaller end of the tool to drag the paint down a little farther if your drag doesn't go all the way. This kind of helps shape it a little bit more. I think my paint has started to dry a little bit because we haven't used this aqua color since the beginning of the stone. And that's adding a really nice touch of color to the outside of our stone here. And I think I just like the sparkle and we only used a little bit of it. I'm going to use the crystal green again and do one more drag here to fill in that empty space. Here. Now, I can also, after I wait for this to dry, do a couple more levels of dots. So sometimes with the dotting tools, which I have an issue with, and the larger dots, it tends to crack or peak, so sometimes I go back over it with the same color. Or I can take another color that I used in the stone and go over it just to give it some depth. We'll use the aqua there. And then if you wanted to add any on top of the other ones as well. Sometimes too I like to just kind of fill in. Oops, I grabbed the brush instead. I like to fill in the center sometimes with some white to highlight a little bit. Do the smaller dots here. Do white, or you could do the light blue, or just some other little embellishments and extra little details to just kind of make the stone your own and give it all the detail that you want it to have. Or you can just even leave the stone as we had it. I think it looks great too, that way. And then let it dry. And I like